welcome back to my channel. I'm Elsa and I'm so glad you're here. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what to expect when you start taking belly dance classes. This is for anyone who might be interested in starting a belly dance journey or are curious but are not sure if it's for them. So I'm going to talk to you about a few things that might convince you to start pursuing belly dance. So one of the things that I hear a lot from people who are interested in starting to take belly dance classes is that it's something that they've always been interested in or they've wanted to do for many, many years, but for one reason or another had never actually taken it up. And something's going on in their lives, there's a shift, there's something big in their lives, some big life event that has kind of finally given them the push to really start. It doesn't have to be that way, but a lot of the time that's what I see. I see a lot of people who are starting graduate degree program. That was my case. People are getting a divorce or are getting married or are going through a transition. I see a lot of middle-aged women who finally find time to themselves after raising kids. So there's a variety of reasons, and of course it just all depends on the stage of life that you find yourself in. There's little children taking belly dance classes as well, so it doesn't have to be that, but it's often a moment like that that pushes a lot of adults to start pursuing belly dance. So I'm very curious to hear what people's hurdles have been in the past, why they haven't been able to pursue it. In my case, for example, I wanted to pursue it since I was very young, but I could never afford it. And it was when I first started my master's degree program that I found affordable classes near me that then I decided to dive in. So for me, money was a big issue, but for other people, it's time or availability of teachers. And that is one thing that is a huge advantage right now, is that there's a wealth of online resources to get you started at least. So that's an advantage that you have that I didn't have when I was starting out. So who is belly dance for? Who can practice belly dance? Really the answer, and I think most instructors and dancers would agree with me, it's for everyone, okay? If you have a body and you don't have major mobility issues, you can do it. That's it, it's as simple as that. There's no real big hurdle. There's no, you need to have a certain type of body. There's no, you need to be a certain age. There's nothing like that that would prevent you from starting a belly dance journey. Belly dance is, in comparison to other physical disciplines and other dance forms, it can be low impact on the joints. And of course, that will depend on the style and the studio where you train, but for the most part, it is pretty low impact, and there's not a lot of jumping required. So it's really good if you have some concerns about your joint. It is also not restricted to a gender or gender presentation. Traditionally, belly dance, often for marketing reasons, has been associated with femininity and the female body and female sensuality or female sexuality, but it doesn't have to be. And actually you will find many performers and famous people within the scene, especially in the Middle East, in Egypt and Lebanon, as well as in Latin America and Europe, who are male or present as male. So there's room for everybody, whether you're assigned female at birth, assigned male at birth, or you're transitioning, or you're female presenting or male presenting, whatever your place in the gender spectrum, you are welcome in this dance. However, there's one caveat. If you are not female presenting and you are looking to join a belly dance studio, make sure that they welcome people of all genders, because there are certain places that are strictly female only, like that is their policy. So just make sure that You will be accepted wherever you go. Most places are accepting of all genders. And my hope is that more and more people of different genders keep joining the dance, because we do need that variety and that diversity. It's currently very female dominated. And so I am excited to see that change over the next few years. But I do want you to keep that in mind. Just investigate a little bit whether it's a studio near your house that you're attempting to join or anything else. Then just make sure that it's open to everybody. I'm sure that you will find something. In terms of mobility, there's no major impediments if you don't have major mobility issues. If you are able to use, if you retain most mobility in your upper body and lower body, then it's possible. There's people who have different issues with their shoulders or neck, knees, etc. In those cases, you always need to consult with a medical professional who can direct you and advise you correctly, because there are certain types of movements and things that you might not be able to do. So if that is your case, and really everybody should check with their doctor to make sure that this is a safe activity for you. And just investigate, bring whatever questions you might have to your potential instructor so that you are clear on what it is that you're going to be doing in that studio. Studios vary and instructors vary. You know, there are as many varieties as there are people practicing this dance. So everybody has different formats and different curricula. So just make sure that the studio instructor that you are looking at is a good fit for your goals and your concerns. In terms of body weight, there's really not real restrictions. I've heard things like, I thought you needed to have a belly to do belly dance. Or, I thought you needed to have a flat belly to do belly dance. You don't need any of those. You can come to belly dance with a flat belly or a full belly in whatever weight you are, as long as it's safe for you and your joints, of course. And enrich your life and enrich your movement through belly dance. It's important to always speak to your doctor and speak to your instructors about any physical injuries or disabilities that you might have. Also keep in mind, for example, if you've had a car accident, then you had whiplash, if you've had surgery, if you had abdominal surgery or back surgery or knee surgery, all those are things that you need to bring up with your instructor so that they are aware and can provide the appropriate modifications. So how much do belly dance classes cost? Again, there is a lot of variety here. For the most part, you can find classes ranging between $5 to $25, depending on where you are and how famous your instructor is, how well known they are. Often studios, dance studios in general, just like gyms and other fitness centers, run promotions every few months to attract new clientele. So keep an eye out for those promotions, and maybe you'll be able to get a discounted rate on your first month. I know that when I first started practicing bar method, for example, not belly dance, but with bar method, for example, my first month, I got a Groupon that was like more than 50% off the regular price, and that allowed me to really take advantage of the studio and see if it was a good fit for me and enjoy the classes and decide if I wanted to stay. And I became a customer for 4 years after that. So just keep an eye out for those things, for those promotions. Or a lot of studios, for example, in my studio here, we offer first class is free. So people can come into a class without having to make any commitment whatsoever and just check it out. Check out the space, check out the teacher, check out your peers to see if it's a good fit for you, if you feel comfortable, and if it's a good level for you. Speaking of levels, it's important also to find a class that is appropriate to your level. And there's really two possibilities here. Either you're a trained dancer with a dance background or you're not. I would say that someone with a dance background does have a bit of an advantage because there's a lot of things related to posture, dance vocabulary, dance physical awareness, right? That you already have that you don't have to learn. Someone who has never danced formally before is going to have to learn a lot of those things anew. So it's very important that you find a class that is appropriate to that level. Usually, studios offer beginning classes, intro to belly dance classes that you can partake in and that are usually geared towards people who have never danced before. Belly dance is a type of dance that is very welcoming to people with no dance background. So if you're looking to find a dance form that you can enjoy and integrate into your life, belly dance is definitely a great choice. Do you need any special equipment to do belly dance? Not really. Mostly we do it barefoot. Some people like to wear very slim dance slippers just to protect the soles of their feet depending on the surface that they're going to be dancing in, but for the most part it's barefoot. And we sometimes give hip scarves and cute outfits that make us feel really, I don't know, motivated to go to class, but you don't really need anything special unless your studio requires a certain outfit or a certain uniform. You can just wear regular gym clothes like a tank top and leggings and just kind of play with that and just have fun with your putting together your outfits. It's definitely one of the things that we love about our belly dance classes. There is a possibility of dancing belly dance with heels, but that would definitely not be happening at the beginning when you're first being introduced to belly dance. That is something that is very stylistic. It depends on the style that you're performing. For example, Melaya Lef or Iskandarani is a style of Egyptian dance that often uses heels, and also some specific dancers like to wear heels, like for example famous Brazilian dancer Soraya Zaid likes to wear like these huge heels. Also Turkish dancer Didem, some of them like it as part of their on-stage persona. They tend to be shorter stature, so they like to wear the heels to make themselves look bigger on the stage or because it gives them something in their dance. However, dancing with heels changes a little bit the dynamics of the movements in your hips and your legs, so it's important to also train with heels. I would say don't worry about that if you're just starting out. Is belly dance difficult? Yes, I'm going to say yes. I was going to say yes and no, but you know what? Yes, I'm going to say it is. There's a lot of technique that we have to go through in belly dance, especially if you don't have a dance background. Belly dance really requires that control over your body isolations, right? Your hips and your chest, but it also requires general dance techniques. So how do you travel? How do you move around in space? Spinning, all these things. You don't need to spin. There's dancers who don't really spin a lot, or they don't do really crazy spins, or they do simple turns. They don't do a lot of sort of ballet technique. But depending on the style of dance that you practice and what your teacher is teaching, you might have to incorporate more general dance or ballet or Western, let's say, dance, European dance technique. So that would include, again, turns, traveling through space, like chasses, arabesque, etc. And those are things that you can definitely learn. You don't need to have a dance background, but that's another aspect of the technique that is a little bit separate from the body isolations and the hip movements that we are used to seeing or that we normally associate with belly dance. A good example of this is Shakira, who has inspired really, I don't know, probably millions of women to take up belly dance. However, her even though her hip technique is pretty generally pretty good, you can tell that she doesn't have this general dance training that you would require to be a more complete dancer. And that's okay because she's a singer. So just keep that in mind, because when we start doing things like turns and chasses and traveling through space, some people are a little bit put off by that. But that is also part of the dance nowadays. So keep in mind that definitely you're going to be moving through space, sometimes more, sometimes less, but there's going to be some turning, there's going to be some of that more, like I said, European technique, to call it something. It's not just standing in place moving your hips. So because of that, I would say it is deceptively easy. A lot of people say it looks easy, but when they start doing it, they discover that it's actually quite difficult, because there's a lot of things to keep in mind. We're very conscious of posture, and you have to keep in mind the alignment of your spine, where your arms are, what your face is doing. And then you also have to have that control of the hips and all these other muscles in order to actually execute the movements that are the focus of the dance. And then in between, we might be traveling and turning. So it's a lot of things to keep in mind, but that's what makes it so rich and exciting. So just be aware that it might be deceptively easy, but that's a great thing about it. However, I will say that all of this about difficulty levels depends on your goals. Maybe you just want to go and have fun for an hour or two and meet new people and shake your booty, and that's it. And that's fine. You have to be very clear on what your goals are. When I first started belly dancing, I was just trying to satisfy this curiosity. I had this deep curiosity. I was very attracted to the dance. I didn't know really why. I loved the music. I've been listening to the music far longer than I had been dancing. So for many years, I would listen to the music, and then many years later, I started dancing. So I knew that I was attracted to it, but there was no idea about wanting to become a teacher one day, or wanting to perform or do any of that stuff. That was not in my mind at all. It just kind of started to flow naturally with the years. I discovered that I was putting a lot of time and effort into this thing, and that I was truly passionate about it. And so I decided to make it a more integral part of my life. But that doesn't have to be you. I know people who've been dancing for 20 years at the level of a troupe, or they just keep going to their studio for their weekly classes, and that's all they need. They don't need to get on a stage. They don't need to choreograph anything. So that's a very individual choice. It's very important that you keep having that conversation with yourself throughout your journey, and understanding where you're at, and see if that changes. Maybe one day you get that muse, that inkling. I started getting that desire to choreograph pretty quickly, and then it was like, okay, there's more here. There's something more here than just satisfying a curiosity. So just keep an eye out for those things. Don't let anybody pressure you into anything you don't want to do. That's very important. So just try to stay in tune with your own values and your own desires and your own goals, and that's what's going to make it a much more rewarding experience for you. Can you get injured practicing belly dance? Honey, you can get injured putting your groceries away in the pantry. You can get injured getting up out of bed in the morning. That can happen anytime, doing whatever. So of course you can get injured practicing belly dance. This one time I was in a workshop, and the girl to my left just suddenly collapsed on the floor, and I thought, oh my God, maybe she has like low blood sugar, she fainted. Her patella had dislocated on her knee, so her kneecap. So it's very easy to get injured if we're not properly warmed up, if we're not also aware of our body's limits, okay? And again, going back to that conversation with yourself, always pay attention to what's happening in your body. Don't push those feelings away. It's good to push yourself a little bit if you have certain goals and you want to challenge yourself, but don't let anybody push you too far. I've definitely had teachers who were very, very, very much on the drill sergeant side of things, and over time I hurt my body. So there's also that potential, not just to get injured one moment when you slip and fall, but to get progressively injured over time by doing things improperly, by not warming up, by not taking good care of your body, by stretching afterwards, resting, eating well, hydrating, all of these things, correcting your posture. That has been a huge difference for me when I really started focusing on my posture, because when you don't have the proper posture for the movements, you can start compensating. Also, when you have areas that are weaker than others, you can start compensating with other muscle groups that are stronger, and that's when injuries start to compound. So that brings me into the next thing, is that it's important to do some sort of training routine, general fitness routine, if you're going to be belly dancing more regularly. Squats, push-ups, sit-ups. If you have someone in your life, or you can join a gym, or someone who can guide you to have good posture and good form in those exercises, that would be great. Especially squats and anything that helps you strengthen those thighs is incredibly helpful. And also anything that strengthens your back, like push-ups, but it's important to do those with proper form. So those things are going to help you prevent injury in the long run, but you have to be very careful not to overdo it, or not to do it with wrong posture, because then you can also injure yourself. So just be mindful of all of these aspects. So which style should you start with? This is a difficult one for me. I think that I know very amazing dancers who started out with belly dance fusion, and then they transitioned into more Oriental or Egyptian type of belly dance. I would say just test things out. Be aware at least that there's many different versions and that many different varieties of belly dance. And then there's these two major currents, which are more traditional, what's called more traditional or Oriental technique, versus belly dance fusion. Right now the term tribal fusion is a little bit problematic, so a lot of people are choosing other types of terminology, but in general fusion tends to be the more universal term for whatever is not the more traditional belly dance with Middle Eastern music. So with fusion, basically you have the vocabulary of movements from belly dance, but used on non-Middle Eastern music, basically. And also there's something called American tribal style and improvisational tribal style, and those are specific formats that use the vocabulary of belly dance, but then they have their own philosophies of movements and sharing the space. I am not an expert on that. I've only studied the theory aspect of this, but I've never trained in ATS or ITS. But if it's something that is interesting to you, then definitely check it out. Just try out whatever's available to you. But my personal little caveat to all of that is just be mindful that this is a dance that belongs to a culture that is very much a living culture. So this culture exists. It is living and it is evolving just like yours, just like any other living society and living culture in the world. It is moving forward and it is evolving and it is changing and it is transforming, and these people are living in it. And this dance comes from a certain history. So just have that awareness. Be open to learning about where the dance comes from, what the music that we normally dance to is like, and there's a lot of variety in that as well, but just kind of be open to that and understand how belly dance has been utilized and seen in our Western culture. So if you are from a Western culture like North America, Latin America, or Europe. So just be aware of these things. Even if you start training in belly dance fusion, just be aware that there's a whole other side of things that is happening. And just be a little bit curious to learn a little bit more about the music and the origins and the roots, and then you can go do whatever you want. But it's important, I believe, to understand the roots and the history at least. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or anything that you want to ask or add, please feel free to do it in the comments. I'll be sure to be replying to that and maybe even find material for a new video. Enjoy your belly dance journey wherever you are in it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.